going to each district and then have a final meeting at the courthouse, Citizens Hall. That would be the 5th meeting. Let the public make the decision. Comments?
Well, you
For
said
we,
open
any
the-
comments for we board?
When you said public meetings,
Meeting.
you never did say what ballot it would be on.
I know, that's what we want to talk about.
Oh, okay.
If and when we want.
Well, I know that you said that the school is having theirs on the primary, in the primary ballot. I've always been against having it on an off ballot, where you don't have a
Standalone.
turnout.
You don't have a turnout.
If you want-
Preference primary, you don't have a turnout.
That's what I mean. You will this year,
Yeah.
next year because of the presidential
Yeah.
election. But I think the more people that voice their opinion about it, the better. A lot of people say that gives the least, lesser chance of passage, but I think, if we're gonna put it out to the public, we need to put it out to the public.
Yeah, I agree, and I think you have a better chance of passing it.
I agree. I mean, we got examples of that with the alcohol. When I held it on the general election, we had a tremendous turnout. People voted their wishes, and when it's passed, and I think the more opportunity we give people to vote, is the better for the law. However it falls, I think that's the way it needs to be.
Mark, I might have thrown your whole thing off by
No, you
starting
didn't.
just now.
No, we're still at calendar.
Well, I was expecting y'all to have this after I got through with this presentation, but we're good.
I do agree.
We're done.
But, one in each commission district, and then a final at the courthouse would invite everybody, and have some form for them to fill out, or to take home and get it back to us, of what they feel we should do, whether we should have one, and what we should spend the money on, if we do have one.
I'll be having a town hall meeting in August when school is back. I'm waiting on the people to get back from vacation.
Yeah, I will too.
Well, I tell you, go ahead.
And I'd like to maybe have a little ballot there for them to fill out.
That'd be
What do
good.
they-
From what I'm getting from my chat with the chairmen, of course, maybe having it in a fire station influences it a little bit. But so far, the people that have told me they would support us for us, and that's been the majority, want to buy fire capital equipment for fire and EMS and roads.
And the radio for the sheriff's department.
They're not talking to me about a radio. I'm still telling you what the people that I was having the sheriff's department, I'm sure they would be doing that. That's the reason I say I'm having the fire department. And we talk about how, the fire department has bought their capital improvements, their trucks and their ambulances and other equipment through 2002 SPLOST. And they didn't buy anything until they had the money in the bank to pay for it, and I like that. But that money has expired, and we just approved a lease purchase for the next fire truck. And the fire truck we bought before that, we paid cash for it, no two money. So what I'm hearing is,
There's a little bit left, but we're
is that not enough to buy an ambulance or a fire truck?
if we can save enough, we're gonna try to, but I don't think so.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna shut up and let you.
No, you're fine.
Let you talk, Mark.
Yeah, but I'm out of the way in since everybody else spoke.
All right.
As it relates to talking to the public, every year, at least the past couple of years, I've actually gone out to my citizens and taken it, 4 to 6 meetings during the budget cycle and solicited their input. So I think I got a pretty good understanding of what Least District 2 is looking for. I think it's a matter of prioritization, what's important. They pretty much have told me prior to, being influenced by what the county administrator is about to say, is for the most part, again, economic development was something that was a priority. There's no question about, let's continue to get the burden off of our backs, with obviously the numbers prove out, we're pretty balanced, but they want to continue that. But they also wanted to experience their tax dollars, which transportation was top priority. Let's get to resurfacing, let's do some of these things so that, again, everybody doesn't get involved with judicial. Everybody doesn't get involved with public safety. A couple of times I was told, especially my last town hall meeting, we spend $120 million on 800 people, right? To make sure their housing is better, right? Think about it. And so, but you got another 130,000 people that okay, where's the balance there? We know what we're required to do. Nobody's questioning that. But the citizens has a unique viewpoint. You're like, okay, but what about me? Where's the policy being spin toward me? And so one of the things I think as we go through this process, we really look at, okay, what's in the best interest of the citizen? If we roll back property taxes, if we do those things, then we've got to make up it some kind of way. Because we still have to finish the work that was started, that we never finished over the past 8 years, right? We're in the hole. So we still got to deliver on that part. So from that perspective, I'm listening to, okay, all right, so we understand public safety, bar none, we've got to continue to do that. But finishing transportation, I think there's some park stuff that was not finished. I mean, obviously, we're building out boundary borders, we're finishing those things. I'm using that as a relative just for the conversation that, they're wanting to, like, look, we want sanctity, we want privacy, we want something for our families. I mean, again, we're talking about these things that are, they're brick and mortar and fire stations and all of that, and that's great. That's your reasonable service. They're not impressed because we deliver that. That's our requirement, right? And so we can't pat ourselves on the back with the very thing that's like, well, that's your job. And so it's one of those where as we really listen to the citizens and you have this discretionary decision making, they're looking for, okay, what is really in it for me, right? How are you really at least maintaining my quality of life? You don't have to guarantee an improved quality of life, at least maintain what I at least believe in. And I think that's, as we think about this, we really have to listen to what they're telling us and try to adjust in such a way that at least they see themselves in the vision that we're casting. Not to convince them in believing that the minimum requirement is that's what it's all about. Because that's not what the program was all about to begin with. That's not how we built our society. It's really their wishes. And so from that perspective, as we go into this, and we're going to be pragmatic, no doubt about it. I trust this board will make the right decisions. So I'm not questioning that. We're beyond that point at this point as a team. But as we think about this, and I think the chairman's right as it relates to spending time out in the community. I think we all do it in our own different ways. I think, Mr. Chairman, we'll come back to, we'll get the answer and the input. And like you said, we're pretty transparent. We're not like some other jurisdictions where, we've got back doors and closet and ghost conversations. We just don't have that. So I'm not concerned about that either. But it's, between now and I guess 3 or 4 months from now, we've got to make some real hard decisions. And I would support a presidential general election. That was a long way to say that. Presidential general election is how I would support. If in fact that's something that we think is necessary. I do believe you got to get the burden off the backs of the taxpayers. The only way to compensate for that is that you've got to have some other revenue source to sort of deal with that. And I'm pretty open to what that should be.
But doesn't it run out before the general election?
Yes, it does.
So we have to do it, we have to have some decision whether or not to continue it. If you break it and then want to put it back, I think it's.
Now, this one has to be totally separate anyway, but the first one's tier 1. Correct me if I'm wrong, this one is tier 2.
Well, it could be a tier 1. It's what
Yeah, it could
we
be.
decided
Yeah.
to make it.
You're right.
And I think probably, since the city has been helped pay for the jail, in which they should, I don't think we would get another tier 1 passed. But, there's a lot of things we need to think about. Going back to the fire department, we've been buying fire trucks and ambulances and equipment with only 50% of that money coming from our Douglas County taxpayers. 50% is coming from outside of our county. And to me, when you're talking about buying a ladder truck that costs $1 million, or a pumper that costs $500,000, or an ambulance that costs $300,000, I sure like the help of those outsiders paying for the capital improvements that we need. I think otherwise we continue with lease purchases and not keeping up with the expenditures for capital projects that we need to keep up with.
To answer her question, can Ken or Mark or somebody
Well, yeah.
inspiring?
Two different things. One, I think what Ann is saying is this: when you have a 1 cent collection for SPOS and you break the cycle of collection, one, it takes a moment for businesses to go backwards and then come forward. So there's a drag in collections. You'll have people collecting the wrong amounts for a period of time.
Complaints, yeah.
Two, you're gonna have some drag because the Department of Revenue is not monitoring as closely as you'd like, and they don't enforce it too much. That drag situation where you pass something, you're counting on this 1 cent, but it comes in later because it's a drag on collections. So one, it's a business inconvenience if it's a 2-month or 3-month gap, and when we're actually passed. Here's the real thing, if I can talk about this, Mark, is the sequence, because I think the sequence probably drives. If y'all were gonna do a presidential ballot next year, and assuming it occurs first Tuesday in November like it always does, your time sequence is really about May or June to have a meeting with the city, have a plan in place, and have a meeting with the cities to start the process. Here's the time frame, because we sort of did one assuming it was November of this year, potentially just going backwards, and we're already sort of in the calendar. You know, the first, you gotta give them, all the cities a notice before you can call anything, and you can't have a meeting any sooner than 10 days from that notice. That meeting can occur more than, less than 30 days before you call. So if you look at that window, you're talking about 30 to 40 days the day after you did a call. 30 or 40 days before you could do a call from the time you give notice to the cities. At the best scenario, usually it takes a little bit longer. You meet with the cities, you get an intergovernmental agreement about, you know, the only time you don't need an intergovernmental agreement, you still require the meeting is when you're doing a tier 1, other projects and all that, you'd have to have an intergovernmental agreement. You then have to, the biggest change, and next year is going to be an issue, I think, is to print the ballots, because they're now all electronic. They go through, I think, Kennesaw State University. They do the program on the ballots. You need probably 120 days. 90 is the absolute minimum to get the ballot actually programmed correctly. And remember, if everybody's getting ballots next year because of a president, you got elections going everywhere, you need to give them as much time as you possibly can. So you probably, the non-legal deadline is probably in July or August. July, making the final call and giving, you know, here, we're gonna do
That's
this.
if we're gonna have a vote
In November. In November.
of this year.
No,
No.
well,
Next year?
yeah, and if you were doing November of next year, Mr. Chairman, you probably want to have your meeting with the cities in May or June. You want to make the resolution, putting it on the
Okay, so
ballot.
I'm assuming y'all wouldn't wanna have one in March. Is that what we're saying?
No. that's-
No, yeah, and I was only giving guidance as far as,
Well, I mean, the school system's having one in March, though. I would prefer to have it in March, the presidential preference primary, but school system's having theirs. Kelly and I've had this conversation and talked about, you know, I don't think you, the public, would want to pass 2 splosh.
They're just asking
splosh
for
and splosh.
continuance. Or, well, it's a new splosh, but it will continue.
Yeah, it means the same
1%.
1%.
well, just use this as a rule of thumb.
All right.
5 months before that election date is when things need to happen. 5 months.
Yeah, and that's the reason we're talking about it today.
Yeah, so if you were doing March, if you go back 5 months, you're talking about this fall.
October, November.
Huh? That's right.
October, November.
October, November rolling by starting the meetings with the cities, et cetera, if you're gonna do March.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do November next year, you're really talking about May, June, May meeting with the cities, June deciding things, and in July probably starting your process for a resolution and call.
Okay.
That way you know you got August, September, October for ballot print, that's 90 days. You gotta have 90 days or, you know, it's a problem. And also, I gotta remind y'all, you know, now with absentee voting so far out, the 90 days, you know, we're using 90 days historically from the
Yeah.
election date. Really,
Yeah.
they would like it 90 days from the first time somebody can actually vote,
Right.
which is earlier than that, so.
Right.
But anyway, so your time frame is probably more October, November at the very latest. Preferably October, we would say September, October for us, just to be safe. If you're going in March, and if you're going in November next year, we would say May, June.
But that's assuming you already have your project.
Well, yeah, you'd have, well, you know, you can have some proposals, but when you meet with the cities, they're gonna have their projects too, and there needs to be some reconciliation. That meeting results in a reconciliation, which results in an intergovernmental agreement about what we're putting on the ballot. You control whether one's called, you control if it's only a tier one, but you still have to have that meeting if it's, and remember, we think of a lot of things as tier one. Not everything y'all think's a tier one's a tier one. It has to be really for a state purpose or a county-wide purpose. It can't be, and fire is not a tier one.
What would be an example of a tier
The,
one?
the,
other
sheriff-
than a
the,
courthouse?
the jail, because it's a county.
No, I know that, but I mean, other than the
Courthouse,
jail.
jail, those
How about
kind
an administration building?
I got the list right here.
And you
Yeah, I knew you were gonna ask me this.
You said, fire was not a tier one because it's not countywide, even though we've got the SDS.
They're paying for it.
They're paying for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jennifer, tell me
I'll
again,
give you
the
that
current
in just a
splice
second.
for the jail ends when? I've been told two different times here, May and August.
Okay, August is the last debt service payment.
All right, I'm not talking about that. When does it
Right,
end?
the end, did you confirm?
Collecting the penny. Collecting the
Yeah,
penny.
when do we quit collecting?
Right.
I mean, I know we'll get some afterwards of that, but when it,
In May. I think she said.
Hold on, let me,
Okay.
make sure I tell you right.
August is our last payment on the bond of jail.
Y'all be talking.
Can I read, can I?
We're all looking.
Can I read
I
this?
know, you don't have to look at
Okay.
me.
Yeah, but
You
if
don't-
it's that answer,
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sort of read this because it's probably easier if I read it.
All right,
A tier one SPOS project may consist only of a county courthouse, a county administrative building primarily for county constitutional officers or elected officials, a county or regional jail, a correctional institution or other detention facility, a county health department facility, or any combination of such projects. A fire station would not qualify as a tier one, and it might not even qualify as a tier project if it does not serve the entire county. So, in our case, a fire station is definitely not tier one, and the question becomes, I guess, is it a tier two because you're providing the service? We're not providing it countywide, if you remember, here's why. Austell.
yeah.
Because of Austell, it's not gonna be a tier two, because Austell has its own fire, and our intergovernmental agreement, if I remember correctly, says they're gonna provide their own fire. They pay, that we coordinate the EMS, they do pay for animal control, if I remember that correctly. So it won't be a tier two because it's not provided countywide, even by agreement. So if it was provided countywide by agreement, of course, they can modify the agreement, Tom, I mean theoretically, I guess. You can make it a tier two, but I don't know if that means anything. You still gotta meet with the cities, they still have to have
Yeah.
input, they still get to say yay or nay, so that don't matter. County SPOS project, certain projects, I'm not gonna read all that. A level one project is a project of the county to carry out functions on behalf of the state, like courthouse, like incarcerate, if you think about it.
Mhm.
And may consist only of a county, and I've just read the list of what those are. If no level one project is designated by the county, projects designated level two have first priority on up to 20% of SPOS receipts. So the levels after level one, a tier one, is when collections come in, those get priority on how they're funded, if that makes sense. If you're a tier two project,
Mhm.
those get funded out of SPOS collections first, especially if there's a shortfall. So the significance of the tiers only is the order of, pecking order of as the
Yeah.
money comes in, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Any SPOS revenues remaining after level one or level two project reservations are to be distributed to the county and municipalities according to population unless there's an agreement otherwise. When SPOS authorization designate one or more level one projects, well, y'all already know the answer about level one, so, anyway. So just think, if you would, just think of September, October, minimum, if you're going in March,
Okay.
May, June, if you're going in November, and we like the earlier of those dates, especially when we're on a general cycle where 159 counties are voting next year.
Well, you would like to have these SPOS before your current SPOS expires, but that's not gonna be, it's not gonna happen with us. If that SPOS ends in May, we will lose $12.6 billion of collections of sales tax.
Can you have it on the runoff election? I don't know.
don't think, I'm gonna give you the
Probably
dates.
not, because you turn out,
Here's the
turn out
dates.
so low.
Y'all going faster than I can keep up with my own emails here.
We really just have the two options.
Yeah.
Either
The option is,
lapse or
the option is March 17th, third Tuesday in March. Wes, I'm thinking about 15, you talking about 16. 16, date of presidential preference or primary, which we think is March 1st. May 24th, 2016, date of general primary, and that's got some footnotes, because I don't know, we know what that is. November 8th, date of general election. And then the next year is March and November. 2017 is March and November. Next year is March and November. There may be a possibility, subject to some footnotes, May 24th of 16.
What
I don't
was
know how
the
that
24th? Do you have any?
It's the date of the general primary, but I gotta read this code section, I can't pull it from my phone, Tom.
Okay.
That's just a possibility, I don't know.
All right, I was getting confused with the presidential preference primary, which is in March, and then the general primary would be in May, is that right?
That's what I have right now. What I have is a presidential preference primary is March, like Super Tuesday or whatever it's
Yeah.
called.
Yeah.
That's just where the parties are voting for
Right.
folks. The
March
general-
1 is just to say
Presidential?
presidential.
Yeah.
It has nothing else.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, and
Nothing else to do with us.
and
We
May
just pay
20,
for
the
it.
reason why May 24th, I think, is a day, is because that's the general primary day. Now, what I don't know is the legislature moving the general primary day to coincide with the presidential preference or not?
Yeah, that's right.
See, the two different things are going
So,
on at the same
Mark,
time.
when you budget, you might have to budget an additional election in this upcoming
May
budget.
24th, I
Yeah.
believe. So that is a potential date if in fact the general primary is occurring because you have a general audience.
Yeah.
And so whoever's running next year, I think y'all's primary is in May. The presidential thing is only thing on the ballot, and that's a March thing as far as I know. We can confirm that, Mr. Chairman. So assuming May was a date, you go 5 more months back on it, you're really talking December if you were gonna do a May primary. But if the revenues are ending in May, if it approved that day, remember, you won't start collecting on June 1 those numbers. It's gonna be backlog, probably 3 months is usually, is the history, I
Our
think.
last lost check will be March of next year.
March.
Not May.
It'll be
Wow.
for the month of
I
March.
take that
We'll
back, we're
receive
gonna
it
lose a
in
lot more than
April.
12.6 million then.
Yep.
Did
It's
you hear
in
me?
March.
No, say-
So I'll say that again if you would.
It will be for March receipts. When vendors turn it in, we will receive that check for March in April, and that will be the last check we receive. Well, that's a lot. Of course, things, money still dribbles in.
Yeah, dribbles, yeah.
But if you have one in March and it failed, then you could conceivably have one in November also, correct?
I don't know what the law is on that. Kim, maybe
I'm sorry, what was the question, Mark?
Google that.
Could you have, say it failed March 1st, could you?
No, you gotta wait a certain period of time.
Can you put on the ballot the different things to vote on? For splosh, like for fire, equipment, this, that, and the other, vote yes or no. And then also put,
I don't think you can do it that way. If you had a referendum, not a SPLOST vote, a referendum, you could do that, but I don't think you could with the SPLOST vote. I wish you could, pick and choose.
Can I just tell y'all
That's what
whatever?
they did in the cap when they put about half a dozen ballots out there, and of course, everyone had passed with the cap at the time.
I'm gonna get the answer in the first question was asked. The problem when you do à la carte is this, it looks like you're just asking, what do y'all want, smorgasbord shopping. I think there needs to be some plan that the county has bought into and the commissioners, as well as, I guess, the cities in the meeting, as opposed to just listing a bunch of things and hoping some of them pass and some of them don't.
on the other side of the coin, there may be one thing in that splosh,
Right.
if you group it together, that may kill the whole
That's
thing.
true too.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what we talked about doing is similar to Gwinnett and Cobb and some of these places. And, we had something similar before in 2000, in one of the splits, I don't remember which, I think it was the first one, the 2002 splits, but either a citizen, either a stakeholder committee, what they called them, you know, a citizen, I can't remember now,
Yeah.
something committee.
A
They
straw
pretty
vote.
much, yes, you know, there's public meetings, you know, they pretty much make the decisions under our guidance.
That's
Tell
what
them to do.
I was talking about with the district meetings, let the public tell us what they would support. You're more likely to get them passed if you let them make the decision.
Yeah, and we give them the list. Every, you know, we give them a big, you know, huge list, okay, let's cut this down, you know, because we only have, you know, a certain amount of money. I think 5 years, we're looking at approximately for the county, 77 million, if it goes 6, it could be 93. That's if, you know, it's tier 2, it's not tier 1. Right, Jennifer?
We still got to figure out some dates.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
still have to figure out the dates.
Well, I think these are gonna be some of the proposed projects. I haven't seen this yet, so, I don't know what Mark has in there. But, this is some projects we need to take a look at, and is this what we want to pursue?
I've got in my mind, Mr. Chairman, that depending upon what's on the ballot, you have to wait a year, but I'll have that answer. I'm pulling it up right now. The other thing, I'm trying to verify if the May and March are still going to be separate election dates, or did the General Assembly try to combine those? I don't know the answer to that.
And going back to what Jennifer said, if that last check is in April, we're talking about a loss for the rest of the year of close to $15
I don't
million.
trust them,
Okay, so that's the reason you'd like one to take over when the other one ends, to pay for these capital projects. And my top two would be what I'm hearing from the public is, pay for capital projects for fire and EMS and transportation infrastructure. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, and to Ann's point, we know we've got a radio system.
No
That problem.
And that's a very expensive item.
Yeah. And it needs more recognition in the community. Just people see the fire trucks and ambulances, they want that equipment kept up. But antenna and communication system really is kind of invisible. It becomes visible when you don't get a call and somebody doesn't respond to a,
Dead
murder.
areas in the county.
Yeah, and that's the point.
Especially in my district.
So to me, I agree with you, but we need that radio system's got to be fixed. Well, let's see what's proposed.
Still want to see what's in
It was your
We've already
hour, we
decided.
took it.
Yeah, we've already decided.
Some of it, and I'll go through some of that pretty quick. Some of these projects could be budget items. Some of them, some of them definitely not, because there's a big list in here. The first one I gotta see here, because I can't read it off that screen.
We have a lot of needs, you're saying.
Yes, sir, we do, we have a lot. No particular order, I'm gonna start with Parks and Recreation, because they turn their information in first. But, and I don't know if you can read this, I'll read it to you, it's on your sheet. These are some parking lots that we've looked at the past couple of years that are in dire need. If you look at Deer Lake Park, I'll show you this afternoon where we paved the parking lot out there, and it looks great. There's some things we can do with this circle drive. If you pull in Deer Lake off Mack Road, go all the way around the circle, that whole thing needs resurfacing. We can put there's also a need for parking out there. We can put 45-degree parking all the way around the circle, have enough room to have a drive through there, plus keep the walking track. There's plenty of width on that pavement to get that in. That's $215,000, that's the top one.
Okay.
Um,
How many parking? How much more parking?
It's 152 extra spaces. Now, that 215,000 is contract price. It's not Douglas County DOT. Multiply that by about 65%, and that's what we can do in-house.
What is GAB?
Weighted aggregate base.
Just raw.
That's wrong.
It's GRABL.
It's a specific type of gravel.
All right.
And then the Deer Lick parking lot, this is the gravel parking lot on the right. When you turn right across the lake, it's the gravel parking lot on the right in the outfield.
First thing you see is you pull in the park.
Yep, first thing you see. Pave and stripe that parking lot with a contractor, all these contractor prices, you're looking at 76,000. Clinton Park for their driveway and the existing parking lot on the left-hand side as you're pulling in, you're looking at 90,000.
You talking about paving?
Well, rock.
No,
Just-
that's
just
pavement.
rock.
No, that's
Well, he's
GAG
coming.
and topping.
I still want to splash the pool down there, the Dudleys. We have no
Okay.
kind of pool on our side of it.
Splash, that's the project.
But this is what we're talking about, hoovers and these.
Okay. What, are we losing people here?
No, we got it. The rest of it you should be able to see, boy. This one's just,
Okay.
Winston Park. This is the parking lot on the right-hand side, as soon as you turn into school. Wraps all the way around the outfield, goes to the field, whatever number that is back in the back,
I
right?
can't read most of it anyway.
That whole thing pretty much needs permaflex and topping, so you're looking at about 510,000, that's the total, 125,000 out there.
Is that us doing what?
Nope, all these are contract prices.
So it'd be cheaper if we did the what?
Yes, ma'am.
Good, thank you.
This is
Those are
bad.
some Parks and Rec parking lots, and we've done a couple. We did Post Road last year, Post Road Park, the Deer Lake parking lot across from the gym. They did, maybe one more, I can't remember which one. Another thing, Parks and Recreation, you're looking at the Deer Lake gym floor renovation is 100,000. If we add lighting, we already have lighting for the football fields. If you add lighting for the soccer fields, which are immediately adjacent to that football field, that's approximately 150,000. Restroom and concession stand, which is, we have some pictures of those. I don't think I have them in here, but you.
That's the,
You talking about
that's the
boundary
upper
waters?
field, right?
No, ma'am. This is down there at the football field and those soccer fields
I'm talking about next. I'm sorry.
at Boundary Waters. That's 450,000. The only concession stand out there is the one at the ball field, so, it is usable, but there's no concession stand or restrooms over there with the football field or the soccer field.
On the Winston field.
No,
We're
that's
talking about
Boundary
the upper
Waters.
field.
That's Boundary Waters. I hadn't gotten to Winston yet.
Okay.
Bill Art, a new press box and restroom, 25,000. And then Winston on the upper fields up there. Yes, ma'am, you're right, upper fields, a new press box and restroom up there. That's
Mark, what is a
25,000.
press box? I understand the restroom part. Press box, what is, are you talking about, I don't know what that means.
Well, essentially what, they got a score, people keep score up top. They keep score up top and you got steps to go up and then the restrooms underneath.
So it's within the building
Yes.
footprint.
Bill Art needs, what I'd like to see at Bill Art and Fairplay is to completely start over.
There's no room.
Well, they are, if you go down, go in there and tear all that stuff down and start over, there is. A redo like Hunter Park, Bill Art and Fairplay are both very old facilities. I had somebody tell me the other day that we have the same dugouts that they had when they were playing Little League. And this has been 30-something years ago. But, I mean, I know it's very expensive to do something like that, and you would have to have, you'd have to move out all of them. I mean, look, Ken was at Hunter, and he had to go to Boundary during that time with the Douglas County Baseball League.
Right.
And you'd have to work out some type of agreement with the other fields to do one year and maybe one the next year. But we need to go in and just redo both of those facilities. Bring them, update them, and, I mean, down at Bill Art, somebody with a wheelchair can't even get around down there.
They can't get to the
Although we
restrooms.
did make improvements, we got them another parking lot, and we put sidewalks in, but still, a handicapped person cannot get to the bathrooms or the, what do you call it,
Upper
concession
field.
stand, or the upper field. So I'd like sometime in the future, and that may not be of interest to the general public as far as reorganization and redoing those things, but it's what needs to be done because they're not accessible to all the people within our county. But that's just something we could think about and throw out there and see if the public would support it.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, I think to his point of view, getting back at least for District 2, if you look at the school system and you look at the quality of their facilities, right? You think about football, they've got, a certain turf, quality turf. You got 60 people to play on a football field, right? A football team, right? That's it. You've got 25,000 students, so where else do they play? They play in our parks, right? Everybody doesn't play basketball. They don't have a skill set on a 12-man team. So one of the things I heard resounding was, well, what about the rest of us who are paying basically into the system, right? We're paying not only for the schools' parks or fields and facilities, but we're also paying for the parks that are for the normal people like me that are not an athlete. And so to your point, the question becomes, what about us, right? Just a normal person who says, look, I want a decent restroom, right? Again, I used the housing of the jail inmates is like, the quality of that, like, the meeting we were in, they said Taj Mahal over there, but I think about just the average everyday, the rest of the net balance of 134,000 citizens, or the net 25,000 children, if they don't have, give them, it's almost like, to your point, they're so aged, they're 2-3 generations, being used, or even a new one, it doesn't seem like there's not a consistent standard. And that's all that the taxpayers are really saying. It says, okay, look, I'm just looking for consideration and at least some type of equivalent versus just, okay, we're just going to give you a couple little things. And if you look at, we put such quality in certain administration and everything else, but then for the average citizen, it's just enough, right? When you look at the comparison, it's like we put so much emphasis on the government side. And this was the point, is that the policy is turned away from the average citizen as it relates to how we allocate. Just look at the quality. It should be really, it should at least be a consistent standard. So I think to your point, there's time to sort of bring everything up to a consistent standard that's really acceptable, that we shouldn't even have to rationalize. We shouldn't even have to rationalize, whereas we having to justify the Taj Mahal. It's like, well, look, all we're looking for is some restrooms that I don't have to, my kids having to hold it and run down all the way down Boundary Waters to go to the restroom.
Boundary Waters is one of our newest facilities, our latest expenditures of millions and millions of dollars. But you can only tackle so much at a time, folks. We have to have a new facility at Winston, new one at Boundary Waters, new one at Lithia Springs. We can't do all this at one time. And that's exactly the reason I say we need to bring up the parks that have not been upgraded. So that's what we need to do. We only have one football field that has turf, and that's our new Manchester. It's the only football field that has turf, and that was done with a East Block. So we've got to get one passed if we want to make these changes and want to upgrade our facilities. We have to do it. Can't do it out of the general budget.
It's massive. And I can agree with y'all. Bill Arp in my district.
Fair play.
Close to it, fair play. They in Clinton, they all need serious upgrade.
We've continued, Mike, to make improvements at these facilities, but you make improvements at an old facility and it still looks old. That's the problem. I would
I've
love
got
to.
some pictures later that'll show that. We made some big
But
improvements.
I would love to see us tackle, at least, that's probably not the only two that needs to be done. But that's the one to get the most kids playing on these fields, Bill Arp and Fair Play.
Yeah.
And they're the oldest facilities that we have.
In Clinton.
Well, Clinton, you don't
Have
put
you
the
ever
ball field out there.
gone
No.
by, have you ever gone by Clinton though? It is always just full.
It's
of
full, but
little
it's got a pretty
kids.
new sign out front.
It's got a sign, but you can't play on the sign. I thought we were gonna put some calcium chloride to cut down the dust because, oh gosh, you haven't been out
That's the
there.
passive
and
part,
the dust-
folks, and it's not supposed to be paved, it's supposed
But-
to enjoy
but there needs
the
to be
nature out
something
there.
to cool off the little kids.
I don't
Yeah.
disagree, I think,
Yeah.
what do you call those things?
Splash pool.
Splash
Yeah.
pool,
And
would be
it's not
good.
that expensive, not like an indoor pool or anything.
Mr. Chairman, you gotta wait 12 months if it fails. When the SPOS vote fails, you have to wait 12 months for another.
And then it's gotta be on the
Right,
right
I'm
calendar.
not gonna be able to
Vote.
remember all this stuff.
So it might be, it really be 16 months
We're
or
right.
22.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Another thing too, in 2016, the legislature passed or for 2016 passed a change. Normally it calls 29 days on the ballot, which is a little off. That's a technical thing, don't worry about it, still your 5 months. They've actually backed that date from 29 to 90 days, so you have to have a call farther out because of the ballot process and electronic ballot. So we need to build in, I would like 6 months, 5 is absolute minimum. So,
Okay.
All right. But that's just something I wish the board would consider, is if we do a splosh.
Something.
And I've not brought that up in any of my town hall meetings.
I'm for it.
But you do want, I don't know how much it would cost, it'd probably $4 million per park. I'm just guessing. Mark, would I be far off?
No, we wouldn't be far off.
Okay.
All right, keep in mind, some of these, this whole list that I'm putting up here, some of it can be done within the budget for 2016, some of it can't. And then some of this we're working on right now. We're working on, it'll actually come before the board here, I think, in the second meeting in July for contract to redesign the master plan out at Dog River Park. And actually what that'll do, we have a master plan out there. What they're gonna do is they're gonna give us the exact location, okay? You know, these are the coordinates. Here's where you need to put this trail. Here's where you need to put, here's a 2-mile trail, 1-mile trail. And then,
Is Cobra doing that? Cobra, the bike people?
no,
Because they volunteered to go out there and do that.
Well, they got plenty.
Yeah, but they still want the,
I
because
think-
it's all up and down.
I know, we'll have to have a conversation about that. I'm concerned about running over.
What kind of trails then are you
We're
talking
giving
about?
them one.
walking trails.
Walking trails? Because it's real hilly.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you follow your contours too. I agree, it's very, very terrain conscious, but the way you lay out your trails, you can minimize that too. You know, you don't go down the slope, you go rotate around the slope. But, you know, looking at this R-166 corridor, and you saw the turnout there at the library. Was it 52 people who went to this Highway 166? I mean,
Couldn't get in the room.
it's, you know, it's passive recreation, and it's walking the trail. If it's mentioned one time, it's mentioned a dozen times in this report. And this is what this goes to. I've been asked, and I'm close to Dog River Park back before I was a commissioner, the things I was involved with Prince Douglas County. And it's been a long time to not do anything out there. We've got a great library, but we're getting questions about when you're gonna do the master plan, or even what is the master plan.
What is the plan?
Yeah, what is the plan? Because frankly, the original plan was really not appropriate for the training of that property. They had ball fields and, you know, softball field. I mean, you're not going to put that Dog River property, just not conducive to that. But there's some things that are not included on there. Is it a small, you know, amphitheater for theater groups or a small music thing? The main thing is passive recreation. That's the main thing. People being able to go out there with the kids, walk trails, and have picnics and that sort of thing. And it's you know, it's been over 10 years. And
The Nature Center was discussed, I think,
yeah,
numerous times. Interpretations.
But y'all have to remember, we've been in recession about 7 or 8
Yeah, we
years.
did.
no, absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, I think to that point, you know, community centers, and back to the point, everybody doesn't play sports, right? Everybody's not involved, and I think
Just need playground.
we just need
Yeah.
somewhere. But even then, there's some, like, the only gym that we have where is what, yearly, right? Out of 17, 18, 19 parks, 130,000 citizens, 25,000 people.
Rec center, it's only rec
Yeah,
center.
yeah, one.
One.
But we do have the Board of Education that allows us to use their facilities, which helps.
Yeah, and they're not standing here with us in that we're supposed to supplement, right? We're supplementing whereby the school system is taking care of their stuff, totally separate jurisdiction, can't get into that. I'm saying that over here, we've just got one. and everybody doesn't play basketball, right, per se. But you have gymnastics, you have other things that are other needs per se, that just as an open space that can be convertible, right? We're not saying building a totally separate one per se, but it's just to be thoughtful of the fact that there is a diversity of needs out there that everybody doesn't play baseball, right? And that's all I'm saying, is that we have an assumption about just, okay, this is how we grow our children, that everybody has this homogenous view of just, okay, everybody goes through the soccer, then the baseball, and it's just like, no, that's not, no, it's changed. So it's just to think about it, so that's it.
And also disc golf is something that people like to play, and that's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Got that boundary water.
And you
I
could,
think
you
it
could
was
do that,
torn down.
you could do that in golf, you could do that in
No,
golf.
Boundary Waters?
Not boundary waters.
Deer Lick?
Deer Lick, yeah.
I thought they tore it
No, no.
They're moving
down. Are
to
they
Boundary.
going to?
They're adding one at Boundary.
And we also have one
We
in
need one.
Austell, in the Douglas County part of Austell. Y'all didn't know that.
We could put one of those at Clinton too.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of those kids in that little water thing up there though.
I don't want to belabor the point either, now, so I'll be brief, but, you know, you're talking about, you know, opportunities for families to do things in this state of, you know, non-team kind of activity, sports. You talk about economic development and appreciation for property values. You've got to talk about amenities that are available to the broad mass of people. I'm talking about, you know, survey of the county and property values. And obviously, the first thing they look at is schools and quality of schools. But other high priority things in the economic development are your amenities, transportation, and your parks and libraries. And parks and availability for broad mass of people in terms of passive recreation is a tremendous amenity, and it's an economic driver. It makes people want to move to your county.
Okay.
So we're looking at about 50,000 for trails out there.
We're not moving.
We're moving right along here.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're covering the slides that I got coming up, so we can just skip those.
No, I don't, you go.
And then access to the eastern portion, that's on the other side of Dog River, from where the library is. We're looking at estimated about 250,000 to get access on that other side,
Off of 166?
off of Dorset Bridge Road.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's an
Okay.
expensive access though.
It is.
Okay.
So we're building a road? or
We're
what is
talking
that?
about it later.
Yeah, possibly.
All right, never mind.
All right.
Okay, so some of those others could be included in the budget, you know, but if not, what you're looking at, Parks and Recreation, about $7 million for community center, which includes 2 gyms, classrooms, mini event rooms, a gym area, and a zero-depth recreation pool, which is, or splash pool. Interpretation
Is that the
center.
pool you're talking about? We call it the zero?
Well, I don't know
Well,
about
the
that.
zero depth isn't really a pool.
It's not really, but
No,
it's really water just.
Yeah.
You walk in from one side, so part of it could be
Goes around. and
very
it's-
shallow, and then it gets deeper as you go. You just don't step off and fall in or have steps, you
That's
gradually
not
walk.
what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a big umbrella.
Yeah.
Water.
Something like Centennial
Little
Park.
water.
Yes, when you go through the water, she,
Okay.
Okay, we can do that too.
All right.
Interpretation center or a nature center, about 3 million. And then we put renovation of existing parks would be 2.2 million, which would be your Fair Play, your Bill Arch, your Winston, your Clean.
I think I was considering more of than renovation with what I was talking about, but again, that's a major project, so.
Yes, sir.
Not
And that's why
redo.
these numbers are up here, we can change them.
Well, the Dog River Interpretation Center, we couldn't do that in the library out there.
Well, what we had discussed doing, we could, was doing it outside the library, out in the woods, so they can take classes out there.
And that's gonna be $3 million outside.
Well,
Well, we got a $4.5 million library.
Yeah.
So,
Depends on what you wanna put out there.
Yeah,
I,
I think that's high.
I mean, I'd love to interpret the center, but
I think that's
it's,
high.
it's too costly, too early, I think.
Yeah.
I think you really need to develop your structure, your spine, if you will. Your trails and benches and picnic pavilions before you get into an interpretive center.
we have these in no particular order, just for everybody to
Yeah,
take a
okay.
look at.
We're taking notes.
Okay.
That's it's helpful.
Okay.
Helps me, 'cause this is the first time I've talked to y'all on a bunch of these.
That's the first time you've done this kind of
Yeah,
thing.
some of them I have already, but.
You're fine.
Okay. If you're looking at a track at Boundary Waters to finish that place up, you're looking at .75 million. And then the 18-course tennis center is 3 million, 18 courts. And then a Lithia Springs Senior Center with a pool, you're looking at, is that say 3 million or 5 million? 5 million. I need black.
And the track was to go around a football field.
Yes, ma'am.
And now we're talking about there's not gonna be a football,
Now, we got a football field, we just gotta put a track around it.
but didn't y'all say there's not gonna be a football program out there, just tag football, which is,
There'll be a flag program out there.
Who said it was not going to be football?
I thought y'all did.
No, there will be.
Not flag football, but a regular football
No,
Beulah's not moving to
flag.
flag.
Boundary Waters now, so they're talking about creating a flag football league.
Which you said could be done in another field.
I said I said you could do that. I mean, I'm not in any particular order with this stuff, but I said you could do that on the soccer field. I said, yeah.
Yeah.
But this, again, this goes back to what Kelly had talked about earlier. This was something that was promised to the public in the 2002 clause, and it wasn't done because of the overrun on the aquatic center, which they changed the whole program on that aquatic center. It wasn't over budget as much as it looked like. They just started out, it was supposed to be one pool, it was supposed to be located in one area. Then they had to put sewer down there, then they made two pools out of it, and added rooms and all that kind of stuff. But still, they spent, what, $8 million on that facility? It was supposed to be 3.4. So that's the reason you didn't get your football field. Football stadium is what he called for, with all that stuff.
Yeah,
Tennis courts. I don't know if there's a need for a tennis center out there. We'd have to just check, see if there's really an interest in an 18-court tennis center.
This Boundary Waters, and Wake Falls, do they have a tennis facility?
Yeah, I mean, there is.
Or there's a amenity
Yeah,
package.
but it's not like what we're talking about. And they've got a little small, they're doing a little basketball, a little park, a little et cetera. But to that, but most of them play over at our associated Boundary. You know, and that's one of the things we're talking about is being accountable for the prior 2002 splosh, right? Just making sure that whatever the vision was that we cast, were we responsible for, right? And it's the spirit of it. It doesn't have to be absolutely no scope changes, so we're not saying that. But whatever was promised at the Boundary Waters, that the spirit of it is that having these mega parks, and as opposed to having people go all over, we've got 500 acres. Well, the point of buying 500 acres was to make sure that we were able to provide things where, you know, we as a family can go there, and those who want to play in a pool, they can play in a pool. Those who want to do this, do that. But it's like all needs are met versus having to go all over the county to get what we need to do. As it relates to, you know, back to this comment about, you know, football, you know, the county is expecting, at least the residents are expecting that there's going to be regular football. That has to be solved. There's no like, okay, all of a sudden there's a change in gear that, okay, we built this field and we're just going to put flag football out there. That probably wouldn't serve what we, that's why I'm like, be careful with that sentiment. There's still the expectation that football will go there. We just need to figure out what's the best, how do we go about doing that since the whole Mount Carmel fell apart and all of that. We need to talk about that policy, talk about it openly, like we started to a couple of sessions ago. But again, I'm open-minded. I think we still listen to the public, see what they're looking for, and we go from there. This is all a cost. They recognize it. They're not expecting for it to all be done at once per se, but just deliver on what you promised. And that's, I think that's all we're trying to do. As long as we fulfill what we promised, you don't have to overpromise the future. Just deliver what you promised. That's it. That's it. Mark?
We can take a break, eat now, or we can keep going. It's up to you.
On here in just a.
Can we eat and keep going?
Not when I'm getting ready to eat.
Yeah, we can keep going.
We can eat
And keep.
and move along.
Mhm.
Okay, without- okay.
All right, I'm gonna jump on the next one, talk about promises.
Okay.
Also, the seniors were promised another senior center plus a pool to go with there in that last splice. It turned out we had one senior center with no pool. There's certainly a need in the Lithia Springs area for a senior center. We have the property there where the fire station is on South Sweetwater Road. That's where the senior center was gonna be. We certainly need to take that into consideration when we talk about what might be on the next splice, because 5 million, that's probably a good figure, but I think we needed pool for that senior center as well. And it can not only be for seniors, it can be a community center with the seniors use as well. But we have the property, and that was something that was promised to the seniors, and we need to follow up on that promise as well. Okay, you want to eat?
Please, I just got a question.
What are we gonna eat?
I don't know.
We're probably
Peanuts are
gonna,
good.
it's upstairs.
Mark told me to eat lunch when I was eating my peanuts.